Clacking her high heels, she approached. Clad in an elegant blue dress that accentuated her figure, she made a striking entrance with a model's poise and stride, uttering a line reminiscent of a ghost story. "Do I look beautiful?" She was, undeniably, a vision of beauty from any perspective. "My name is Keith. I'm a 30-year-old woodcraft artisan. My father, Apata, bought an old house along with the hill behind it when I was in middle school and moved us to this small town. Situated on the outskirts, my father has since been energetically engaged in his craft, working on larger kilns than before. It was after moving here in middle school that I became interested in woodcraft, a hobby my mother enjoyed, and decided to give it a try. And I was hooked. In middle school, I would rush out of class after school, preferring woodworking to hanging out with friends or attending extracurricular activities. Consequently, I don't have many memories of playing with friends during my middle and high school years. After high school, I apprenticed under a master craftsman for 2 years, learning the delicate art of woodcraft. Though I had the option to stay with my master, I chose to return home and work alongside my father. We collaborate on projects, combining his pottery and my woodcraft, and participate in events around the state. In addition, we supply our creations to the largest hotel in town, Shine Hotel, as well as several local souvenir shops and an online store run by my mother, which contributes to our income. My mother, who loves crafting as much as my father, married him out of a shared passion and admiration for his work, choosing to support him behind the scenes while keeping her own crafting as a hobby. She also manages our finances, allowing my father and me to focus on our craft without worry. Around the time I returned home, my father began to actively participate in events. He probably wanted to increase my visibility. He started creating vessels that complemented my woodcraft, leading to positive reception at events. However, I must admit I'm not particularly fond of events. I'm the type who immerses myself in my work, quiet and not very good with words. Incapable of explaining to customers, I focus solely on creating my woodcraft, leaving the customer interactions to my father. Even when customers express admiration for my work, I continue with my head down, unable to offer much in the way of pleasantries. Often, such customers quickly leave upon seeing the prices. I can afford to sell my work cheaply because it involves a lot of time and effort. They probably feel bad just for looking. On the other hand, there are customers who appreciate the value of my work and make generous purchases. These events, and the connections they foster, have proven invaluable. I suddenly remember the event I participated in when I was 22. It was a 3-day event, and on the first day, around noon, a young girl visited. She might have been a high school student, though it's hard to estimate women's ages, and she appeared quite mature. She watched my hands work with sparkling eyes. Never tiring, always attentive. Reluctantly leaving at closing time, she returned from the morning of the second day and stayed till the end. The same happened on the third day, leaving me genuinely surprised. Though she occasionally tried to strike up a conversation, my reticence and focus often prevented a proper dialogue. I hadn't brought anything she could afford to this event. By the afternoon of the third day, moved by her dedication, I decided to give her something. Rummaged through my bag, I found a small piece of woodcraft. When I handed it to her saying, "This is for you," her eyes lit up. She said, "I'd love to visit someday," so I gave her my business card and a brochure of my workshop. With a beaming smile, she took them and left. I wonder how she's doing now. Thinking back to that event from 8 years ago, I can't help but smile. Humming a tune cheerfully, I refocus on my work. Then, I hear the sound of a rolling suitcase. Looking up, I see a woman walking towards me. It's rare for tourists to come this far, but if she's a customer, I should greet her. Though, there are more of my works sold in the touristy shopping district further from here. As I stand up to approach her, the woman suddenly starts running and rushes towards me. Then, with a burst of energy, she hugs me tightly and exclaims, "I've missed you so much." Confused by the sudden embrace from the woman, I'm taken aback. I'm not very accustomed to interactions with women. Confused, I almost push her away to free myself from her grasp. Upon taking a closer look at the woman, who had stumbled slightly, it became clear she was incredibly beautiful, with distinct facial features and a tall, slender figure. Additionally, she had a great figure. The moment it dawned on me that she had been sticking close to me all this time, my face felt so hot with excitement it seemed like it could catch fire. After my rejection of the hug, her face falls for a moment but quickly brightens back into a smile. "You haven't changed a bit. Still amazing. Keith, you're so cool." I'm even more puzzled that she knows my name. Then, she thrusts a small wood craft in front of me. "This is... Remember, you gave this to me at the event." It all comes back to me clearly. She's the girl who spent 3 days at the event, intently watching my work. I'm astounded by how much a woman can change in 8 years. As I stand there frozen in admiration, she declares, "I'm Sarah, 22 years old. Please let me be your apprentice starting today." I scrutinize her from head to toe with a puzzled look. She pouts under my gaze. "You said you'd take me as your apprentice," she insists, pressing the matter. "Wait, an apprentice? I never said anything like that. How could I? I'm not even at the age to take on apprentices." As I blurt this out in panic, she looked down with a saddened expression. But she's not one to give up easily. "There's no one better than you. Please be my master. Age doesn't matter." Who could argue with a beautiful and determined woman like this? As I stand there bewildered, my father emerges from the kiln at the back, drawn by the commotion. "What's the matter, Keith?" Before my father can finish, Sarah rushes over to him as well. He seems to remember her instantly. "Well, the girl who was glued to Keith back then. How nostalgic. Are you here for sightseeing?" But Sarah's next words leave my father speechless. "Nope, I'm here to become Keith's apprentice." Seeing her large suitcase, clearly packed with the intention not just to stay but to move in, my parents reluctantly invited Sarah inside the house. As we sit in the living room, Sarah talks nonstop. "Your pottery is truly spectacular." Flattered, my father suggests she stays for dinner. "This is incredibly delicious. Your cooking is the best, ma'am. Especially this stew. It's exquisite." Praised by Sarah, my mother smiled warmly and offered her to stay the night. While having coffee after dinner, Sarah enthusiastically praised, "Keith's delicate woodcraft adds a perfect touch to your work. Everything matches so beautifully. I really want to be Keith's apprentice." My parents were over the moon with such unrestrained compliments about my work. "Let her be your apprentice for now," they decide, allowing her to stay indefinitely. "What do you mean for now? How did it come to this?" I protest, baffled by the sudden turn of events. Waking up the next day, I found Sarah dressed in work clothes, staring at me with sparkling eyes. Me, with my just woke up messy hair, and her, a breathtaking beauty with light makeup and fully dressed. I quickly headed to the bathroom. It bothered me that my parents seemed amused as I, usually careless about my appearance, earnestly brushed my teeth. I decided to start teaching her the basics. We start by cutting the wood, trimming it to the desired length, and then splitting it to the required width. It's a mundane and tedious task, challenging to split straight, and supposed to be quite difficult. Yet, Sarah handled it with ease. "Since that day, I've been ordering wood and studying a lot," she said, proudly puffing out her chest. Impressed, I found myself admiring her dedication. "But this wood is so easy to work with. It's nothing like what I've used before." "What is this? It's amazing." The wood she had been using must have been of a different quality. Her genuine excitement was endearing. If she's 22 now, that means she was 14 at the time. A middle school girl going as far as to order wood for her studies. I was amazed at Sarah's hard work and initiative. Since she had a grasp of the basics, I asked her to create a piece. Her eyes sparkled as she immersed herself in the task. We chatted idly as we worked. It's surprising you grew to like something so mundane. At that, she quickly looked up and vehemently disagreed. It's not dull, it's cool. Not everyone can do such skillful work. Just crafting usable wood is incredibly hard. Her words made me blush slightly. I had thought it was something anyone could do. Just that I had started a bit early, and with some training, anyone could manage it. Having a good taste is quite important, along with dexterity. You probably inherited it from your parents. I'm envious, especially taste. It's something that isn't easily refined. Struggling a bit with her work, she finally finished, placing it beside her face with a smile. Done. Surprised by her progress through self-study, I offered some advice. Sarah listened intently. Touching a woman's hand was nerve-wracking, but as I helped her with a tricky task, suggesting, if you hold it like this, it might be easier, her eyes lit up. Amazing, Keith, you're incredible. Her joy and attempts to replicate the technique were endearing. Suddenly, Sarah took my hand. Ignoring my fluster, she examined it closely. Such a beautiful hand. This is the hand that creates those works. Her words made my heart race. In just one day, I found myself growing fond of her, a hard worker whose expressions constantly changed. Am I falling too easily? But with such an adoring gaze, I doubted anyone could resist. After a month of teaching Sarah while working on my own projects, I received some unwelcome news. It was an invitation to a middle school reunion. The venue was Shine Hotel, the largest hotel in town. Sighing, I wondered if he was the organizer after all. Sensing something, Sarah leaned in and asked, "What's wrong?" I'd grown accustomed to her sudden close presence. "It's a middle school reunion. I don't really want to go." "Why not?" I didn't have many friends, but there was more to it. "The organizer, Kevin. I don't really like him." Sarah frowned. "A nasty guy." "He's annoying." "No, actually, he's a good guy. What's the right word?" As I reminisced about his face, I shared an old story with Sarah. Kevin is the sole heir to the Shine Hotel, quite the young tycoon. Being wealthy, he was quite popular in middle school. When I moved here in middle school, he eagerly started conversations with me. When I was in trouble for forgetting my pencil, he gave me a brand new one. When I tried to return the pencil after school, Kevin was surprised. He said, "I gave that to you. You didn't have to return it." Everyone happily accepts gifts from me, which in turn surprised me. I had intended only to borrow it, and felt uneasy about accepting it as a gift. When I declined, he then invited me to a candy store. "You moved into that old house at the edge of town, right? You probably can afford much candy, so I'll treat you," he said. Not understanding why he would treat me, I also declined that offer. Then he said, "My parents always tell me to take good care of the townsfolk. Our hotel grew big thanks to them. That's why I need to take care of you too." I was skeptical whether his gestures of giving pencils or treating me to snacks were truly significant. So I clearly stated I'm not in trouble, and swiftly went home to continue my days crafting woodworks. "He's kind of weird," Sarah commented with a cruel honesty at the end of my story, making me laugh. "He's not a bad guy, just different in approach. Or you could say we just don't click." As I continued with a bit of hesitation, Sarah sharply cut in again. "He's just feeling good about himself by being generous." Her words refreshingly voiced my feelings. "I'd like to go to that meeting too. I want to see this guy," she said. I frowned at her words. Since coming here, I haven't gone out much. I'd like to interact more with the people in town. She expressed her wish. That was something I couldn't ignore. The reunion invitation stated, "Guests welcome." Very typical of Kevin. That must be quite a challenge for those preparing. Yet, despite his demeanor, he is well liked by the hotel staff. They would likely go out of their way for him. I marked will attend and wrote in +1 for the guest. A month later, the day of the reunion arrived. Walking alongside the dolled-up Sarah felt a bit embarrassing. It felt like we were on a date. The venue for the reunion was a new hall built by the Shine Hotel. A little away from the Shine Hotel establishment stood a somewhat smaller hall. It was probably Kevin's idea. As we approached the venue, Sarah, catching sight of the hotel's courtyard, said, "Go on ahead," and ran off towards it. Whenever she sees something beautiful, she can't help but dash towards it. Knowing this would take a while, I decided to go into the venue first. The reunion, though small and limited to our grade, was quite lively due to the open invite for companions. As I was looking around the hall, a voice came from behind. "You're still dressed in that shabby outfit, I see." Turning around, there stood Kevin in a crisply white suit. Despite thinking his taste questionable, I greeted him. Expecting him to quickly move on to greet others, he stayed put by me. "Still into making things, leading a dull life," he remarked. I chuckled and nodded at his comment. "Woodworking after just high school, right? Are you sure that's okay? I mean, my family buys from you regularly, but what about your future? It's unstable, expensive. I'm worried, you know." Despite saying he's concerned, he's really speaking his mind. "Don't worry, I'm fine. Thanks as always." Despite his blunt words, I thanked him, acknowledging his parents who actually bought my work. Sensing I was trying to end a conversation, Kevin tried to keep me engaged. "You've taken on an apprentice, I hear." Hearing that, I thought I should introduce Sarah, but before I could, he went on a tirade. An apprentice in woodworking, and a woman even volunteered for it. Must be quite the plain Jane, right? Why don't you join us for a mixer sometime? It's important to interact with beautiful women once in a while, you know. His one-sided rant left me feeling a bit annoyed. Sarah is not plain at all. I was about to say she's rather flashy when Kevin grinned mischievously. "Come on, that's got to be a lie. If she turns out to be a stunning beauty, I'll apologize," he laughed loudly. From behind Kevin, Sarah approached confidently, her high heels clicking. Wearing a revealing blue dress that accentuated her figure, Sarah, with her model-like poise and stride, left everyone mesmerized. She grabbed Kevin's shoulder, turning him towards her. Kevin was taken aback by the sudden appearance of a beautiful woman staring at him angrily, completely caught off guard and shrinking back. "Am I beautiful?" This line, which seemed like it came straight out of a ghost story, was uttered by her, leaving Kevin to stammer, "Beautiful, yes." Sarah, beaming with a broad smile, told him, then a profound apology. A flustered Kevin was told, "You said you'd apologize deeply if Keith's apprentice was a beauty." "I'm Sarah, Keith's apprentice. Apologize deeply." She's a bright and lovely woman, but can be scary when angry. She speaks her mind clearly, without hesitation or doubt. I placed my hand on Sarah's shoulder. Her shoulder was quite high up. Standing at 5'6", she put some extra effort into her look today by donning 3.5-inch heels. That alone was quite a sight to behold. By comparison, I'm 5'8". Standing next to Sarah in heels, I appeared shorter. "Sarah, stop it, that's enough," I said. She then glared at me with her beautiful face. "Why, this person knows nothing about your work. To call such delicate craftsmanship plain is terrible." In my mind, I apologized to Kevin. Once Sarah gets like this, she's unstoppable. American woodworking, pottery, and crafts are all delicate and beautiful. How can you have such a terrible opinion? Your hotel is adorned with wonderful pieces by Keith and his father, yet you lack so much understanding. Kevin retorted to that. Isn't grandeur beautiful? This hall is meant to be a glamorous place. We're bringing in cultures not found in this town and hosting various events. Sarah frowned in response. Come with me. She grabbed Kevin's wrist and dragged him out of the hall forcibly. I followed them. Some curious classmates also tagged along. We arrived at the main courtyard of the Shine Hotel, the place Sarah had rushed to after being captivated upon arrival, leaving me behind. Look at this breathtaking garden. That pottery is a masterpiece by Keith's father, and this is a wooden light crafted by Keith with great care. It's magical. I could gaze at it for hours. Sarah spoke with an enraptured expression. Quietly nodding to Sarah's passionate speech, everyone, not just the men but also the women, was captivated by her entranced face. Keith and his father regularly maintain this garden, while the Shine Hotel staff clean it beautifully. Keith, even without being asked, picks up fallen leaves and dusts off dirt. It's these seemingly insignificant tasks that keep this garden beautiful. Doing something for someone else is all about this. No matter how many luxurious furnishings you place, a place won't be beautiful without heart, she argued. Besides working in the workshop, Sarah also accompanies us for deliveries and management. I've seen the courtyard of the Shine Hotel during the day, but this is my first time seeing it at night. The wooden lights cast a fantastical glow over the courtyard, which must have captivated everyone until just now. I wanted to hear more of Sarah's passionate arguments, but this could make her seem intimidating. Once again, I placed my hand on her shoulder and smiled. Sarah, thank you, Kevin. You said you buy our work, but that's not quite right, especially my father. He prioritizes Shine Hotel out of gratitude for your hospitality, I explained. Kevin was dumbfounded. In fact, my father had gradually become a renowned potter since I was in elementary school, and by the time we moved here, he was quite well known. Kevin's father, the owner of the Shine Hotel, came to visit us as soon as we moved into the vacant house in the mountains, begging us to allow him to purchase our work for the hotel. Since then, our relationship with the Shine Hotel has been positive, with several of my father's pieces among their furnishings. Kevin, I think it's great that you want to contribute to the town, but I don't believe it's about small gestures like treating classmates or giving things away. Try to step out of the mindset of giving and look at the town with a broader perspective, I said. Hearing this, Kevin hung his head. Our classmates also voiced their agreement with me. Though I must say, we're all thankful that the fee for this lavish reunion is just $10, I added, prompting laughter. Hosting fun gatherings in the hall for kids and seniors would be really cool. When Sarah suggested this, Kevin's face lit up. It seemed to spark his motivation, which was fantastic. Sarah, thank you. Upon saying that, Sarah's face instantly brightened. Keith, have you fallen for me? This statement caused an uproar in the room. In a flurry, I managed to dodge Sarah, who was seeking a hug and a kiss, and my classmates, and went on to enjoy the rest of the reunion, which concluded amidst the lively atmosphere. Sarah and I headed back to the workshop together, and I invited her to the backyard. It's pitch dark, you know, she said, following me. As we entered the backyard and moved a bit further, we came to a clearing. The moment we entered, I could tell Sarah was breathless. No way, she whispered. In front of her there was a space illuminated by fantastical wooden crafts, with a central piece featuring the words love and Sarah engraved on a wooden light. Sarah was moved to tears, overwhelmed by emotion. It was a bit out of character for me to be so cheesy, but I'm glad it made her happy. Sarah, I fell for your relentless effort, the straightforward love you show me, and your passion for woodworking. I may be an older guy by 8 years, but I want you to be with me. As I said this, slightly embarrassed, Sarah hugged me tight. I'm so happy, truly happy. My 8 years of feelings weren't wasted. It seems Sarah had already fallen for me when we met at that event. She was touched by how I skillfully transformed a piece of wood in my hands and fell in love with the focused look on my face as I worked silently. She said with shining eyes, "I want to be your apprentice." Then, I responded with a smile and a yes. From that day on, I became Sarah's goal. She also learned about woodworking by watching videos and getting books, which she read until they were worn out. After Sarah graduated from college, she headed straight to my workshop. She carried the business card and brochure I had given her at the event. With such genuine feelings directed at me, it was impossible not to fall for her. I awkwardly put my arm around Sarah's shoulder. "Thank you for making such a tremendous effort to find me. I want to reciprocate your earnest feelings. This light, it's my first gift to you. Do you like it?" As I spoke, Sarah rested her head on my shoulder and said, "Very much so," but while forming a small circle with her fingers. "The first gift from you was that small piece of woodworking." Her joy made my heart skip a beat. Wanting to give her something more, I picked a small clover. Twirling it around, I crafted a tiny ring. Sarah's face lit up, and she extended her left hand towards me. I chuckled softly and slid the clover ring onto her slender ring finger. Gazing at it intently, Sarah shed a single tear. "I'm glad I worked so hard to get here." Upon hearing those words, I hugged her tightly and whispered, "I will cherish you more than those 8 years you spent, with all my heart." Sarah hugged me back tightly. The moonlit night and the wooden light in the backyard turned into a magical space, a special place for Sarah and me.